Welcome to the AEN Stories channel.
It started with the smallest cracks. It always does. Her name was Claire, and for 8 years she had been my anchor. We had the house, the cars in the driveway, the jobs that paid enough to keep us comfortable. Friends envied us. Family held us up as an example of how to do marriage right. But perfection doesn't explode into dust. It erodes. Quietly. Slowly. So slowly. You don't notice the floor sinking beneath you until one day you're ankle deep in water and pretending you don't feel the chill. The first crack came as laughter, not the kind she used to share with me. Curled up on the couch, watching bad movies, when her laugh would tumble out light and unguarded. This new laugh was sharper, private, stolen. It lived behind closed doors. The bathroom at midnight. The balcony when she thought I was asleep. The garage when she took a call. The first time I heard it, I froze. The sound was almost unfamiliar. I hadn't heard her laugh like that in months, maybe longer. When I asked later what was so funny, she waved it off. Just a dumb meme from a co-worker. But her phone stayed tucked under her pillow that night, face down, like a secret she had no intention of sharing. I told myself it was nothing. Stress relief. A harmless distraction. God knows work had been hard on her. But even then, something twisted in my stomach. A primitive alarm bell ringing too faintly to act on. Then came the phone habits. Claire had always been reckless with hers. Left it charging on the nightstand, screen lighting up every few minutes with notifications. She hated silence. Her ringtone was a pop song I grew to despise from sheer repetition. But now, always face down, always on silent, never out of her reach. When it buzzed, she flinched. When I walked by, she angled it away like I was the enemy. One Friday night, she slipped it into her coat pocket before we sat down to eat. I raised an eyebrow. She smiled too brightly. "Work," she said. Like that one word carried enough authority to close the subject. Work. But work didn't send perfume into our bedroom at 2 a.m. Work didn't leave faint traces of cologne on her blouse. Work didn't make her leave on errands at 9 p.m. with her makeup still fresh, her hair too carefully redone. I wanted to believe her. God, I wanted to. Because believing is easier. Belief is warm, soft, familiar. Doubt is cold steel pressing against your ribs. But belief is fragile. It only takes one push to shatter. The push came in the form of a receipt. A crumpled strip of paper in her jeans pocket. Dinner for two. A bottle of wine I couldn't pronounce. The restaurant was one I had suggested for our anniversary. She told me it was too expensive. Apparently, it wasn't too expensive for him. I sat at the kitchen table staring at it like it was radioactive. My hands trembled, not from shock but from recognition. I could almost picture her there, leaning forward in candlelight, giving someone else the smile that had been mine for years. I didn't confront her. Not that night, not the next. Because when you hear betrayal whispering, the worst thing you can do is scream. Screaming scares the truth back into the shadows. Instead, I listened. I watched. I turned into someone I didn't recognize, a shadow trailing behind his own wife. And the deeper I looked, the stranger it became. Her lies weren't smooth. They were sloppy. Too sloppy. Stories contradicted themselves. Phone calls ended mid-laugh when I entered the room. Hotel reservations appeared in her email, one in her name, one in a man's, both with the same check-in date. At first, I thought she was careless. But then I realized she wanted me to notice. It wasn't just betrayal. It was bait, like she was daring me to find it. And that was the thought that chilled me more than any receipt, any perfume, any locked bathroom door. Because if Claire wanted me to know, then this wasn't just an affair. It was a game. And I had no idea yet what role I was supposed to play. After the receipt, I changed. Not in one sudden explosion, but in 100 small ways. I became quieter, sharper, deliberate. I stopped asking questions that would only earn me lies. Instead, I built a mental file. Every time she slipped, I recorded it in my mind. Then on my laptop, in a folder, I ironically named the autopsy. It wasn't anger that drove me. Anger burns too hot, too fast. What I felt was colder. clinical, like I was documenting the slow death of something that used to be alive. Claire thought she was clever. To anyone else, she probably looked it. Her stories were half convincing, her smiles polished, her excuses quick. But to me, they were riddled with holes. Take the yoga classes. 3 mornings a week. She left at 6 a.m., yoga mat strapped to her back, but the mat was always clean. No sweat stains, no frayed edges. And when I casually checked the yoga studio's website, I found their classes started at 7, not 6. Then there were the work trips. Claire worked in HR. She never traveled. In 8 years of marriage, she hadn't once needed to. Suddenly, she had 3 trips in a single quarter. Denver, Chicago, Boston. Each time, she came back glowing, humming with a kind of energy that had nothing to do with conferences. I checked her suitcase once, found 2 wine glasses wrapped carefully in a blouse. Neither of them was from our set. I started following her. Not close, not obvious, just enough to track patterns. Tuesday nights, she always worked late, but her car wasn't at the office parking lot. Once, I caught her at a wine bar downtown, laughing, leaning in, eyes sparkling like I hadn't seen in years. She wasn't alone. The man was tall, sharp suit, expensive watch. He touched her back as if he owned it. She didn't flinch. She smiled wider. I sat in my car across the street, hands locked on the steering wheel. Every nerve screamed at me to storm in, to drag her out, to make a scene. But I didn't. I wrote it down. Time, date, description, evidence. The strange thing was how easy it was to gather. Too easy. Her purse was a goldmine. Receipts, ticket stubs, even a hotel keycard once. Her email password was the same it had been since college. In 2 days, I had enough to blow up her entire double life. But that's when I noticed the inconsistencies. Some receipts didn't match. A hotel bill showed 2 meals charged to the room, but Claire's credit card only showed 1. A text message she'd accidentally left open said, "Last night was perfect," time-stamped during the very hours I knew she was at home with me, asleep in bed. And then there was the cologne. Sometimes it was strong, clinging to her clothes like ivy. Other times, nothing, no trace, as if it had been deliberately applied, not worn naturally. The more I investigated, the more I felt like I was being led along a trail of breadcrumbs. Only the trail didn't lead to the truth. It looped back into itself, forcing me to circle the same suspicions over and over. It was almost theatrical, like she wasn't hiding the affair at all, like she wanted me to discover it, catalogue it, bleed myself dry trying to make sense of it. One night, she left her second phone in the laundry basket. Yes, a second phone. I found it buzzing under a pile of towels. The screen lit up with a single message. "Is he catching on?" My blood froze. Not "do you miss me" or "when can I see you?" Not passion, not love, strategy. The words weren't for me, but they felt like they were aimed directly at my chest. I didn't open the phone. I couldn't. Instead, I put it back where I found it and pretended I never saw, because the question echoing in my head wasn't "who is she with?" anymore. It was "what game is she playing?" From that night forward, I became less of a husband and more of a detective trapped inside his own home. Every laugh, every absence, every slip of her tongue, I dissected them. But beneath all the evidence, another truth began to emerge. A darker one. Claire wasn't just cheating. She was building something. And for the life of me, I couldn't yet see whether it was a new life for herself or a trap for me. The more I uncovered, the less it looked like a normal affair. Affairs are messy. Affairs leave chaos in their wake, forgotten receipts, hurried excuses, sloppy cover stories. Claire's lies weren't sloppy. They were curated, planted. Every scrap of evidence I found was almost to perfect, like it had been positioned for me to discover. The cologne-soaked blouse, the hotel keycard, the half-written love note stuffed into her knit-stand drawer—it was like watching a play written for an audience of one. And I was that audience. The question was, why? One Friday evening, I decided to push it. Claire came home late, humming like she'd stepped out of a romance movie. I asked her casually how her happy hour had gone. She froze not visibly, but in that microsecond where the body forgets to lie before the mouth catches up. Then she smiled. Good. Just co-workers. You'd be bored. I nodded, pretending to accept it. But that night, I left a folder on the kitchen counter. Inside, some of the photos I had taken, receipts he'd saved, even a printout of the text message he'd seen on her second phone. I didn't confront her. I just left it there. The next morning, the folder was gone. She didn't say a word. She didn't even look shaken. She poured coffee, asked if I wanted pancakes, and hummed while she fried eggs. That's when the pit in my stomach became undeniable. She wanted me to find out. She wanted me to collect. She wanted me to suffocate on the evidence. But to what end? The answer arrived 2 weeks later. A thick envelope in the mail addressed to me. From a law office ID never heard of. Inside, a divorce petition, grounds, emotional abandonment and controlling behavior. Attached were screenshots, receipts, even photos, my own evidence. The very same things I had collected, only twisted, manipulated, reframed. The photos of her with the man at the wine bar. The angle made it look like I had stalked her. The hotel receipt, marked as evidence of obsessive intrusion into her privacy. The notes on my laptop, presented as a pattern of surveillance and emotional control. My chest went cold. It wasn't about the affair. It never had been. The affair was bait, a trap designed to make me build the very case that would be turned against me. Claire wasn't running from me. She was framing me. The man from the wine bar, the guest house, the laughter behind locked doors. Maybe he was real, maybe he wasn't. But what mattered was how neatly every detail pointed back to me as the villain. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in the living room with the petition spread across the table, staring at the walls we had painted together, the pictures we had hung, the life I thought we had built, and I realized I was never her partner. I was her project. Claire hadn't just cheated on me. She had orchestrated my collapse, quietly, methodically, with the patience of a surgeon, carving out pieces of a life until all that remained was a shadow. The next day, I packed a single bag and left, not because I was defeated, but because I finally understood the rules of her game. You can't win against someone who needs you to fight. You can only take away the battlefield. I rented a small place across town. No forwarding address, no trace, just silence. The kind of silence she couldn't twist into evidence. Weeks passed. She called once, then twice, left voicemails that oscillated between anger and faux tenderness. I didn't reply, because the second truth, the real betrayal, wasn't that she loved another man. It was that she never loved me at all. She loved the performance, the stage, the control, and without me in the audience, her play had no meaning. So I let her sit alone in the theatre of her own making. Epilogue: here is the thing about betrayal. People think it's about passion, lust, weakness, but sometimes betrayal is colder than that. Sometimes it's about power, control, the quiet satisfaction of dismantling someone from the inside out. Claire didn't just cheat on me, she rewrote me. But here is what she didn't count on. I get to choose the ending, and my ending was simple: silence, freedom, and a life no longer scripted by someone else's lies. Betrayal leaves scars, sure, but it also leaves space you get to choose how to fill. I chose silence, I chose freedom, and I chose never to let someone else script my life again. And if you've been listening all the way through, thank you. Seriously, stories like this aren't easy to live, but they're powerful to share. If you want more, hit subscribe to End Stories. New confessions, new betrayals, new twists every single day. There's already plenty waiting for you on the channel, and trust me, you don't want to miss what comes next.